Now, in this place, where the theater is located, this is the mountain of Jebel al-Madda, the mountain of the high place of the sacrifice. This is the mountain. The high place of the sacrifice is over that mountain. The elevation up in their village, in the way to Little Petra, to the caravan station in the afternoon. You'll see their houses, you'll see their school, and there'll be a panoramic view also for the mountains of Petra. The local Bedouins, when they were living in Petra, they had a name, a local name for this cave. We call it the Beit al-Sheikh, the house of the Sheikh, the tribal chief. When the archaeologists did the excavation here, they found that it's a Nabatean house. And definitely they say that it was for a very important Nabatean, maybe a minister or a king, because of the size of it. You get the entrance, you get 3 rooms to the right hand side, and you get 2 rooms to the left hand side, and then you get a second room in the back. The Nabatean caves, most of them are tombs, except for a few houses. This is the house here. The one that is down here is a tomb. It's a grave area. Now, where's the Nabatean houses? Look at that mountain. Now, the wadi, this is the wadi. Now, the wadi here runs northwest. And then it goes to the left-hand side. It runs east-west. Now, when you look at that view, look at the side of the mountains. There are billions of stones. That was the living quarters of ancient Petra. They built houses. The rooms, it was square in shape. It had an entrance. It had one window. It was roofed. Over the roof there was always an incense burner, because their main trade, it was bringing incense from the South Arabia to the north of Arabia and selling it for the Greeks and the Romans. Now, only 7% of the Acropolis of the Upper City, that area, is already uncovered. The rest is mountains of stones. They are doing excavations since the beginning of the 20th century over here. They did not finish. It needs billions of dinars to uncover the area. It might take them another 5,000-6,000 years. If I can wait, I'll wait and see. I'll do my best. The burial of King Malakos. His name is Malakos. It comes from the word Malik. Malik is a king. That grave, it was carved around 70 AD. It has 4 columns. You can see that it has also windows. It goes into a cave like the crater of Petra, and there is an urn over the top. The arches, they were added to the place back in the 5th century AD. This place was reused 3 times. The first time it was a burial for King Malakos, 780, the 1st century AD. And then the Romans at the beginning of the 2nd century AD used this place as a courthouse, placed into a church, because it faces the east and the cave is large. And from there you can see the wadi here. But what are we going to do? We'll go for a short hike, as we said, about 50 meters to that white roof. The white roof have a beautiful mosaic floor, and from there, okay, you'll see the city center of Petra, and from there you'll see the royal tombs. Okay, you'll see all Khupla mountain, and then you're going to see also the graves under the mountain of the high place of the sacrifice and Wadi Farasa. Spectacular view. You love the view from the top. The city center of Petra. We have the other royal tombs. The first one to the left-hand side is the palace tomb. It looks like the Roman palaces. It suggests that the engineer that designed the first one, he was in Rome. He saw the Roman palaces and he copied the same design. The second one, we call it the Corinthian tomb, because it had 8 Corinthian columns. Okay, and it looks like the treasury of Petra, but without any carvings, without sculptures like the Amazons or Isis or Nike. The one which is with the beautiful colors, it has 4 or 5 colors: the pink, purple, white, and gray, silver one. Okay, that's the silk tomb. Silk. The archaeologists, they call it silk tomb because it's very smooth or soft like silk. And so these are the royal tombs. The front area, inside in the front of the royal tombs, the archaeologists suggest that there used to be a garden in the front of it. You can imagine an area garden. These stones that you see in the front of it, all of them were the Nabatean houses. This is where the living quarters start. Wherever you look, you can see the layers of stone. Everything is destroyed here. There is a complete city around the curve here. On the wadi curve. Now, over there, they cannot build houses because the mountains are very steep. Here, the wadi opens up this way, and then they build houses, terraces, like the old cities of Amman, Rome, the same thing. So in the Wadi Kars, Wadi Musa, to the west, the end of Petra, is that mountains area. And you can see that one of the reasons for choosing Petra to be the capital of ancient Nabatean kingdom, because it's surrounded by a natural wall from all directions. I was talking yesterday that we have in Petra a castle that was built by the Crusaders back in 1115. Now, look in the back, there's a small mountain, there's a hole over it, yeah? That hole is a remaining of a castle that was built by the Crusaders on the King's Highway, but actually Petra is about 4 kilometers to the west of the King's Highway. That castle was built by the King of Jerusalem, Baldwin I. He led an expedition to the southeast of the Dead Sea along the King's Highway, and he decided to build a castle over that mountain. Reaching that castle is not difficult. They did not build a castle over that mountain because hiking up to the top is almost impossible. So they chose that one over there, and it was built back in 1115 to 1116. The name of that castle is Al-Habis, the Bedouin name. It means the lockup or the jail, the prison of Petra. Now from here, we walk along the wadi. We'll start the short hike to the Byzantine church. We'll have a look at the most beautiful mosaics in the south of Jordan, and then we'll go out for the viewpoint so you can see the city center. Look at the royal tombs in here, it's spectacular. But then there'll be also a good view for the royal tombs from the church. Now here we have a fountain. This is the remaining of the fountain. You remember Jerash, and when we started in the fountain, the Museum of Jerash, it was very well preserved, and we said it's the most well preserved fountain throughout Jordan. Here we have this fountain. It was built back in the 2nd century by the Romans, and you can see the remaining of the marble stone, the bottom here, the white stone.
Okay.
So it was always white. The second floor, if you remember, in Jerash, it was painted with frescoes, yeah? Beautiful wall paintings.
Yeah.
To the fountain, we have a tree, the Pistachio Atlantica tree, which is out there, about 450 years old. Now, when you're standing here, okay, look to the west of Petra, that direction, you can see the colonnade, yeah? Some of the four columns. Now, can you see the biggest camel in the wall?
Yeah. Where is that begin?
The other way. Oh, yeah.
You see the camel, yeah?
The biggest camel in the world.
The
line of
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a camel with the humps and the head.
That's a camel.
Or the Sphinx.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful camel. I tried to take a camel ride 10 years ago. I told them, get up, camel, get up. It wouldn't, no. It's always there for the past 40 million years. The little holes to hold the marble stone.
Oh, okay.
To hold the marble stone. The staff search. You did a good job reaching up at the top. Good hikers.
Yeah.
Good walkie shoes.
Huh?
A good walkie shoes.
Yeah, they really are comfortable. They have a really soft heel on them, so you're
Oh, yeah. I'll start wearing sandals next month.
Yeah. I said, now I know why they wore.
For the colonnade and for the temples. Now from here, there is a panoramic view for the royal tombs of the Nabatean kings. You can see it from an equal elevation. And then you can see the mountains in the back. The name of that mountain is Khubtha mountain. Khubtha. Can you say Khubtha? Khubtha. Khubtha is a modified, yeah. Okay, Khubtha mountain. It comes. It's Khubtha mountain. Khubtha is like when you translate the word, it's the like the tricky mountain. Okay, now we have the royal tombs. You can see the famous one, the urn tomb, the cell tomb, the Corinthian tomb, and the palace tomb. Now there is a wadi behind the palace tomb to the left-hand side. There are about 680 steps. It goes over the top of the mountain, and from the top of the mountain you can see the colonnade of Petra. The Wadi of Musa, the Valley of Moses, the end of it, of course, is that mountains. And then when you have the flash floods in Petra, the water goes along the riverbed down there by the tree, you can see it, and then it goes to the lunch place. We have a wadi that goes to the beyond the mountains, to the west. The end of the floods, it goes all the way to Israel. Now, beyond the mountains, we have the Wadi Arava. It's a slope, of course, from the east to the west. water goes to the Israeli side, whoops, okay, and you get more trees on the Israeli side, more grass, more vegetation. Now, the area, looking around it, of course, you can see the mountains, except when you look at the northeast of Petra, that area, you can see that trees over there. There are some houses. That house is over there. That's the Bedouin village. The Bedouins that lived in the caves until 1984 and 85, the government gave them that land. It's outside Petra, that land, the white stone. You can see the white stone. Over there we have the village. We call the village Al Abdul housing. The name of the tribe is Al Abdul. There are about 2,000 Bedouins. They were living inside the caves, and they come to visit Petra, to work in Petra every day. Today is Friday, so this is find a lot of children here. 2 necklaces for a dinar, 1 necklace for half a dinar. They have almost like 200 houses, and they have a school. And today, when we go and visit Little Petra, we'll drive from the parking lot, which is beyond this mountain. We have a road that goes to the village, and from the village, once we reach to that village, that corner, we'll be able to see the white roof of the church. And then we go to the north, 15 kilometers to the site where we have the caravan station and the Stone Age village and the Bedouin tents. Now, the colonnade of Petra is over here. You can see the column. That's the restored column. And you can see the paved road. That's the Roman paved road. The columns, they were rebuilt by the Romans, but originally it was a Nabatean colonnade. The Nabateans paved it with the sandstone, but the sandstone doesn't stay for a long time if you're walking over it and you have rain over it. So when the Romans they came to Petra, they added the limestone to the site. They brought the limestone from the south of Petra, where our hotel is located, further to the south. Over there we have the town of Taibe. The mountains of Taibe town is rich of the limestone. So they brought it all the way, and they paved it to that temple, that building that is standing over there. That's one of the Nabatean temples. We call it Qasr al-Bin temple. It goes back to the 1st century BC. The pavement of the courtyard of that temple is a sandstone. And then we have a gate, which is the end of the colonnade, is a gate. Okay, limestone. When you go beyond the gate, you cross the gate. It's a sandstone. The temple's area is at the end of Petra. It's like a triangle. You get the Winged Lions temple. We'll see it after some time. And then there's Qasr al-Bin temple from the 1st century BC. And that restored building over there is the Great Temple of Petra. The Great Temple of Petra. It was uncovered by the American Brown University. They did a good job. American Express paid $2 million for helping to uncover and to restore the site. And they say it's a temple, but actually it's not a temple. It's like in Jerash, we've been to Jerash and we saw the Temple of Artemis. It's 3 levels, level A, B, and C. Now, the difference between that temple, and that temple has a small theatron inside. So some archaeologists suggest that it was the City Council of Petra, and everything is rebuilt here. And what is reconstructed here again? The American archaeologists, they drew a red line. The bottom is the original, the top is always the restored. This is what is always done by the archaeologists. The colonnade goes to the end, to that mountain area where we have the cattle, that trees, the gum trees, and then to the right hand side we have, of course, our lunch place. Here we get the colonnade again. This is the bridge school. Here, the name of this place is Al-Jmi'an. Jmi'an is a Bedouin name. Now, it comes from the name Jum'ah. Jum'ah means Friday. A Bedouin man was living over this mountain, and his name is Jmi'an. Now, the archaeologists, back in the 90s, slowly they started doing excavation here. It's a USAID to Jordan, ACOR, the American Center of the Oriental Researchers from Chicago University. They did a good job here. They uncovered a Byzantine church. We have, so far in Petra, we have 3 places which they were used as churches, and we have a monastery. The royal tomb, the urn tomb, it was reused as a church back in the year 44780. We have a second church here. This is the reconstructed church, and it's a quite well preserved, and it's restored by the American archaeologists. We have a third one that was uncovered only about 2 years ago, or less than 2 years ago. It's in the back with that gray column, the 4 gray columns. Now, the most well-preserved mosaic floor throughout the southern region of Jordan is in this church. The design here of the church, we call it the Syrian Basilica Church, like Madaba, Malkibu, and even Jerash. The stones are earlier Nabatean stones, and then they were Roman stones, and then of course they became the Byzantine recycled. We saw the marble stone in the fountain. It was taken out and it was used here for the pavement. You see the pavement area. This is the original, of course, paving of the church. You can see it also here. Okay. And even when you walk in, this is the original one. When you go in further, that's the restored one. The entrance to the church, we have three sections here for the church. Over there, that column. We have 4 columns, okay, and one roof. We have the most well preserved baptistry throughout the entire Middle East is in the back of that wall. Here we have the water storage. You can see it. Look at water storage. This is the water storage. Look at the depth of it. It's quite well preserved. Little bit restored. The top is a little bit restored. Now the church, it was roofed like the rest of the temples, you know. And the water was channeled from the roof down to the sand trap here, okay, and then the water, the fresh water, went down into the reservoir. This is it's built of bricks and it was plastered so they can always preserve it. Some reservoirs, you know, water storages, it goes back to the 6th century. It was sometimes roofed. Definitely it had a cover over the top, but it wasn't an arch. It might have been a wooden cover over the top. This is a courtyard outside because with columns. We have 3 shelves over there where it was like you know, storage for keeping the things of the church. And beyond that, we have the baptistry to the left-hand side. The mosaic floor here. The mosaic floor, and it's USA to Jordan, the American Center of the Oriental Researches. Right now, we're standing in the nave. And the aisles are over there to the right and to the left-hand side. The apse of the church is over there. Now, the archaeologists, during the excavation, they found tens of papyruses in that room, which is to the left-hand side. And it was taken to the American Center of the Oriental Researches in Amman. They have a small museum also that overlooks the Jordan University. It was translated. It talks about water rights. Okay. Some of them are marriage certificates, some of them for trade. But when it was studied by the archaeologists, they suggested that, you know, back in the 6th century AD, the Byzantines, the Christians of Petra, like the rest of the Byzantines throughout the Holy Land, they were farmers. They were not involved in trade. Now we expect that the population of Petra back in the 6th century AD, it was not less between 8,000 and maximum 10,000 people. During the Roman rule, the Petra, the number was between 40,000 people. The Byzantine from the 2nd century BC onwards, it was over 30,000 people lived in Petra and around the mountains of Petra. The mosaics here are restored by the archaeologists, and you can see you have different figures of the animals in the area. The same thing, you get more of the the design, we can find it throughout the Holy Land. If you have a chance in the future to come to a place which we call it Gadara in the north of Jordan, we have a beautiful church. It's an octagonal church, 2 crosses, okay, and built within a basilica church. Okay, and it has the end of the aisle is half a circle, and then you get the apse, the same thing, the same design. But 2 churches, 2 designs within a church, very unique of its kind. Okay, so this is the church. It was built between 450 and 580. The white roof is to protect the mosaics from the sun and from the rain. So this is the...
Hey, can I ask you, this floor was there?
No, this is, of course, the floor here is the restored floor. As we said, it's a USA to Jordan. The American Center of the Oriental Researches financed the excavation and the restoration of this church. So they had to put a roof over the top to protect the mosaic floor. They need always to, to reconstruct some parts. This is the original pavement here. You get it over there and over there by the entrance of the church from the western side. have the winged glass temple, the fenced wall here to the right-hand side, and that freestanding building is Qasr al-Bent temple. It was like the first century BC. The local story, the legend says that the daughter of Pharaoh was living inside that palace, the Benu Zikoita palace, and during the summertime, before he asked one of the Lebanese for he went up the mountain, and we call that mountain al-Bayyara, the mother of the seven sons. He brought for her water, and then they got married, and they lived inside that palace. Bedouins, they have always built a palace for the old large monuments. But that's a temple built for Ushara, the god of Petra, god of the mountains, and until nowadays they're doing more excavation, of course, inside it. We will see the fenced area. The alcove, the French alcove is uncovered the altar and the pavement. We'll go down past the winged glass temple and then down to the temples area. Slowly, be careful here. That's the theory that says it's a Mesopotamian Persian influence. Because when back in the 6th century BC, some of the archaeologists suggest that when the Nabateans left Arabia, they did not come straight to the north of Arabia. They went to the east, to ancient Mesopotamia, and from ancient Mesopotamia, they came to the south of Jordan along the King's Highway. So they were influenced by the Mesopotamian, of course, art and mythology. So they had most like, the sculptures of lions that has wings. Now, we have the goddess of this temple. Her name is Al-Uzza, the mighty one. Okay, here we have two temples, as we said. That one is for the god of Petra, the male god Ushara, that freestanding building. Okay, and I was talking about the temple, maybe in Jerash. We saw the temple of Artemis, and we saw that the columns in the temple of Artemis, it rocks, it moves. Now, that building is the only building that survived the earthquakes. Okay, the reason, if you look at the temple, if you look at the wall, there is a thin layer of wood. The area was rich of the juniper trees. The Nabateans carved that wood and they kept a layer of wood in between. So when you have an earthquake, it always absorbs the shock of the earthquake. Now, we tried to compare the temples of Petra with the temples of Hegra, a Nabatean site in Saudi, and with the Arab temples of Yemen. Now, the temple here is not like the design of Yemen. The one here, according to a Jordanian archaeologist, he told me, he said that it's designed like the black stone Kaaba in Mecca. The same design, this temple and that Kaaba, the black stone. Now, it's not just like the Nabateans, they came from the Arabian Peninsula. They built their temples in this area. The Kaaba, its age, we say it was built by Abraham and his son Ishmael. It means Abraham existed when? It's in 2000 BC. Okay, the building was restored several times. Right, and one thing that we know that the Muslims before Islam and after Islam, they keep putting a black cloth over the building, black cloth with words of Quran around it. And before Islam, they used to do that also again. The Nabateans in their temples, they used to put also cloth over the water channels. Sometimes even walls. They put also this here. Okay, as you see it, I was talking about the water channel. They put sometimes a curtain over the water channel, okay, which is it's part of their religious ceremonies. Now, the colonnade here comes to the end, and that's the great Heaven's Gate. The Heaven's Gate is the gate of the holy courtyard that the four columns. They were uncovered about 2 or 3 months ago. It's about 40 meters long, The area, the back of the temple, they uncovered, they will find the city here. Look at the stones, there are billions of stones. But both sides of the valley, especially the south, okay, the important buildings here are to the south. In Jerash, they were located to the west. Because here the colonnade, it runs east-west. Over there, the colonnade runs north-south. So here is to the south of the colonnade, you get the important temple back in the 1st century BC, and you can see the walls of the temple are very well preserved. There used to be a colonnade like the temple of Artemis of Jerash to the left-hand side. It came up to the front of it. The fenced area, it was uncovered by the archaeologists a few months ago, let's say 3 months ago, by the French archaeologists. They found the pavement and the altar. So look at the size of the altar, it's very large. Okay, I'm looking at the other group if they're going to have lunch. be very crowded. Okay, the altar is over there. They used to sacrifice the blood sacrifice. Okay, over the altar. There are steps from the other side. Now there used to be steps that goes up to the top. It was decorated with 4 columns. Okay, pilaster. Everything was painted here. The arches are very well preserved. Okay, the whole building survived the earthquakes because of the thin layer of wood which is out there. Okay, let's go to the restaurant. Go ahead with them.
So is this all, did this all survive?
It survived the earthquakes. The only building that survived the earthquakes in Old Petra is this one.
So none of that is reconstructed?
The reconstructed is only in the back, in that corner.
Yeah.
The corner. The washrooms quickly, and the buffet is indoors. And the grill is outside to the left-hand side. You saw the grill, yes? Now, friends, there's 400 people having lunch now.
Oh, I forgot to turn around. What do we? Oh, we're gonna jump. Oh, look at. What are we supposed to do?
How long does it go back here? Yes. I mean,
The village here is, goes back to the 7th millennium BC. It's about
Wow.
9,000 years old.
9,000.
One of the oldest solution. You know, there's the industrial. Welcome. أهلا وسهلا. عفوا. The industrial revolution. أعطيني واحد من كده بس عشان أحسن. Bedouins, they find it here. Some of it is arrowheads, some of it for cutting skin, some of it to make holes in the skins. These are real ones.
These are not the ones they made themselves?
No, this is not made. This is, they find it here. The Bedouins do not cut flintstone like this. These are real flintstone used by man back in the 7 millennium BC for cutting skin, for cutting flesh, for cutting things, for making holes.
Not sure. I mean, you could.
No, they can make it as sharp as a surgeon knife cut.
You can always rub it in
Right.
another flintstone this way. Rub it, and then you can sharp. It's a real one.
Even drivers that became a tourist is taking pictures.
That is funny.
Hmm. They were short people, right? Is that what you say? They were short?
Well, the graves, now we cannot say short short in the sense, like, you know, in Petra, the caves are, you know, as we said, 6 feet, some of them,
Right.
or less. But
Yeah.
usually you deduct a little bit. But their height is like, say, 160,
Like this?
165. No.
No, they were tall. Oh,
160,
so
yeah.
same height as us?
Yeah, but they're not big like me.
Stone Age.
Okay, so here we have the Stone Age village, and the Stone Age village here, the local name for it is Beda. Beda, when you say Beda in Arabic, it means an egg, eggs. Okay, the meaning of the translation of the name Beda. The old village that goes back to the 7th millennium BC, it's a fenced area. You can see the fence all around that area. The archaeologists about 2 years ago, they made the reconstruction. I mean, they want to show the people how was the old villages back in the 7th millennium BC. So they built that 4 rooms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see the design. Some of them are square, some of them are rectangular, some of them are circular or round. Now, looking at them here, this village is the first, one of the earliest agricultural villages that was found throughout the area. The oldest village, as we know from archaeology, it's the city of Jericho. Jericho is about 10,000 years old. This place is about 9,000 years old. The design for the houses, or the rooms actually, here, okay, it's like the same one in the old city of Jericho. Now, the archaeologists here, they started doing excavation back in 1958. The American archaeologists, they found several layers of inhabitants. They say that it was also abandoned in the year 6,500 because of fire. Now, people abandoned this city or this village where the population most likely it was between 200 and 250 people living in this small village. They were not most, tribal people. Now, the people that lived in Jericho is the same thing. Jericho, if you go down along the mountains, it goes to the Arava Valley, and then it goes to the north, it goes to the south of the Dead Sea, and then the north of the Dead Sea. Here, of course, in Jericho. The idols that was worshipped here is the same in Jericho. The funeral ceremonies is the same thing. Now, here the archaeologists found under the pavement of the rooms 40 urns. Urns, most of them are for dead children. They were dying from the age of 5 to 7 years old. Most likely they had a disease, maybe the plague, and they buried their children under their houses because they believed in the afterlife. There is a remaining of a temple area, but it's not very well preserved in the corner. And the rooms here, as you see, some of it is like a square shape. Okay, some of it is round like that one, and some of it is large in size, like that one, which is over there. They were used as mangers, for keeping their animals. Before the 7th millennium BC, man that was a wild man. He was traveling from one place to the other, looking for food, for animals, for something to eat. But this is the first experiment where man settled down and he tried to build houses, living in one place, a permanent residence for man. So it's a pre-pottery village. It goes back to the Stone Age, and they're very unique of their kind. You find them always along the Fertile Crescent, which is it starts in ancient Mesopotamia, which is the present Iraq. It goes to the north to southern Turkey, and then it goes to Lake Tapirius, and then this, and then down to the Aqaba area. Around Petra, there are 2 places. This place, and there is another place about half an hour to the east of Petra. So this is to the northwest of Petra. The name of the site is Beda. Beda. It was re-inhabited, of course, later on by the Nabateans. But luckily, the Nabateans, this was under sand when it was inhabited by the Nabateans. They were farming here, they were planting wheat, the Nabateans. And the archaeologists also found in this village remainings of the emmer wheat. I don't know if you know it. Wheat, wild wheat that grows. And the people that live here, they were trying to plant also in here. It's which we call it the agricultural revolution. It's a life changed when these villages they were built. Religion started when these villages when they were built, and life of when they settled down, they were found first here in this area. They found some things that was imported from the Red Sea area. Some things came from Turkey. All of it is along the Fertile Crescent. It's about 9,000 to 10,000 years old. This is what remains out of it. The American archaeologists uncovered it and back in 1958, but then as you see it's ruined. we don't expect like a big place like Petra, because this is 9,000 years old. Petra is only on average 2,000 years old, site of Petra. So I think this is more important than Petra. I think a Stone Age village to see it or to add it to the tour.
Can I ask you, like, this stuff here?
Sorry, grinder.
So it's a real ancient grinder?
Exactly, for wheat. They put wheat on it, and then they put the stones in, and then they they grind wheat, and then they get the flour. They make, they make bread out of it. This is a local stone. Now you can see how much this was used. This was flat stone. Okay, and then slowly they started grinding. It says that it's a long time. This stone should be a harder stone. You can use the flint stone for grinding. And if you look here somewhere, some places, you can see the the arrowheads, the flint stone, the sharp ones, sharp edges, very sharp. Some of them. The better ones, they look for them around the area and they find some of them. I have one at my home, but it's very, very sharp. I got it for half a dinar.
Here's a pretty rock. I can't carry anymore. I guess I can't either.
All the way, we have their food here. Then they go dancing. They'll be Okay, so this is the caravan station of Little Petra. Little Petra is here. Little Petra is only about 15 kilometers to the north of Petra. It's not on the King's Highway. The King's Highway, as we said, is over that mountains. You can see it from here, over the top of that mountains. Now, the caravans, when they left Petra, some of them went on the King's Highway over that mountain, as so, it goes to Karak, to the Grand Canyon, to the city of Maraba, and then it continues to the south of Damascus. Some of the caravan routes it came to the northwest of Petra. This is a caravan station. The Nabateans, every few kilometers, they had always a caravan station. A caravan station means that it's always for staying overnight in the place. Now, whenever you stop, like sometimes the camel can walk more than 2 weeks without having water. Now, when they travel from Yemen to Mecca to the south of Jordan to Petra, it takes, as we said, 45 to 60 days. Let's say 15 days. Each 15 days, the camel must drink water. So within 60 days, the camel must drink 4 times. So in each caravan station, it's not a must that the camel drinks water, but usually to sleep overnight. Number 2, to give the food, to give them food also. Some caravan stations, like here around Petra, they plant wheat here, so they can give food for the travelers. But this place is not far away from Petra for overnight. The archaeologists, they suggest that the owners of the caravans, the merchants, they were meeting in this place. And this place, we walked through the little Seek, we call that Seek the Kong Seek, or Seek al-Bari, because it's small in size. It was enlarged by the Nabateans, and then you get to this wadi area. The caves that you see, usually the bottom one is water storages. The water was channeled during the rainy season always to the reservoirs, and then you get sometimes a cave with either 1 seating or 2 seatings or 3 seatings. We call them tricliniums. Tricliniums in Petra are funeral homes. Tricliniums in Little Petra are meeting halls, not coming inside. This is for the camel boys and the VIPs of the caravans. We have outside also a large reservoir for water. Now, walking in here, as you see, we have a reservoir down there. You can see it's black from the top because of the people that lived here from the 16th century until 1984 and 85. And that building on the top, the archaeologists, they suggest it was a temple in Little Petra. And we don't have steps that goes up there. So it suggests also that maybe a holy man was living over there. He used to do all the services on behalf of the owners of the caravans in this caravan station. We don't have any, we do not have here any graves at all. But this is a meeting hall, like offices of nowadays. While walking, you can see always on that side, for example, you can see the place of each second, third, for every few meters there is always an image for Tushara, the god of the mountain. So he's always around Petra and little Petra for blessing of his trade. There are more gardens, you guys see them. No? More gardens.
Mike,
Yeah.
where can I get rid of this garbage?
Garbage?
Wow, that's black.
They were living inside of here?
Yeah, we've been living inside the caves from the 16th century until 1984 and 85. So how many? 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, 20th century. Almost 100 years.
That's why the roof is like that.
Yeah, look at the roof here. It's very black, very, very black. It means that they were living here for hundreds of years. The Bedouins inside the caves. But looking at this place, it's so beautiful. Very well protected. Trains, sometimes they collect water. There used to be a spring until like 200 years ago outside, but now it's dry. And these are the rooms. I was talking about them, tricliniums. Three stone-seated benches to the right and to the left, and one is at the front. Now, when you go into a tent nowadays, when you walk through the tent, you get mattresses to the right, mattresses to the front, mattresses to the left and right. It's always maximum 3 ceilings because you get an opening, of course, for the entrance. Now, some places, it was a private places. It has 2 seatings, benches inside. It means less people met in the same place. If it has 1, it means less people. But here, 3 seatings, it means more people sat here. So some places they were used for friends. Some of it for private conversation between people. But here, there is to be more people sitting in these places. We have a water storage to the right-hand side. Before walking to the place, we used to wash your hands, and then we used to sit beside these things. This is only for the orders and the leaders, the guides, only guides beside of this space. This is one of the rooms. This is also second room. You can see the like the garden here, the garden pillars or carport, these are or of the Levantine Catholic columns, similar to the Doric columns. You can see the remaining images and marks. Look at this room, and there is a name with that for putting the idol for Tushara. And there's the carving, the carved area of the body. It suggests that it might have been a trade where people sat as they had the food. The 2 square. The same thing is over here. We walk to the tent, you find mostly when they offer them coffee, they take the coffee in the right hand. Even some of the archaeologists suggested that when people sat in the Levantine theater, also they had rugs and mattresses, right here, rugs and pushes over the top so they can decide their sides. So they're always using their right hand. Meeting walls, and it's not very reserved. Again, the Levantines did not like the natural colors, otherwise it used to be very beautiful. The pink and white, and then the yellow and silver. So it was illustrated. We have remaining of frescoes in one of the caves.
So they used to put plaster on the walls?
It was plastered and it was painted. It was always painted. It had also frescoes, wall paintings. All the caves, because this is an expensive stop here. It was for the owners of the caravans, the richest people in the Levantine kingdom. This was their caravan station. This was their village here. And whenever you have another caravan or another tribe, they were giving them service. If they're coming from a long distance, okay, they give work for the camel, but in return, they take from them, incense, myrrh, spices, silver coins, bronze coins. So give me, and they're within the Nabatean kingdom. If the Nabateans also, caravans, stopped here for overnight, usually they paid also taxes in these areas. But this is close to Petra, so it's within the region of Petra. An idea about the caravans, when the Nabateans were very smart people. When there are hundreds of caravans, they came across the desert. When you have the sun, for example, here, and they have the camel here, they put their incense, the little jars of the incense, on this side, on the shady side of the camel. So it stays always fresh. Okay? And then the sun goes here, they move their things from here to here. Okay? So if you put it over the camel, the sun will hit it, and then it will become dry. They try always to make it, they keep it fresh and wet, you know. So once they burn it, they can get the sweet smell out of it. One little jar in Yemen, it cost 1 silver coin. When it traveled along the Red Sea area to Petra, from Petra along the King's Highway, sometimes to Gaza, from Gaza by sea to ancient Rome, the value of the jar was over 500 silver coins. So when you offer incense for Artemis or for Zeus or for anybody, for any gods during the Greek or the Roman era, it was a lot of respect for the idols when you offer that. Look at these, you know. So the Nabateans were famous for bringing the incense from the south to the north. That thing made them very rich.
Soit architecturaux, comme cela. Et puis au niveau des défunts, énormément de symboles. Donc bien sûr, on revient à traiter de n'avoir que cet exemple-là, parce qu'on ne peut pas en tirer quoi que ce soit. On sait que dans nos cultures à nous, à partir du moment où la vigne est intégrée dans les cultures gréco-romaines, etc., c'est très souvent une source de jouvence, de renaissance, etc. On voudrait savoir si on est même pour les Nabatéens. Tout état de cause, ce sont des choses qui sont extrêmement fortes. Et là aussi, ils ne sont pas que sculpteurs, ils sont aussi peintres. Et ça, c'est important. D'une façon générale, j'espère que maintenant, de toute manière, lorsque vous irez dans des sites antiques, vous n'oublierez jamais de restituer la couleur, enfin, en tout cas d'y penser. Même pour les cathédrales en France, les
يلا ضوي يا سالم يلا وجههم هيك سالم طلع هيك اذا بدهم لا
السلام عليكم.
He was a good boy, yeah.
This whole city, is for the Japanese.
They're gonna have to.
No, to look at Petra, they go back to the hotel, to the Movenpick.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. The big black thing was the first one, but I think that's only because of whatever they're doing now. Yeah. Maybe they put it on the side. You notice that they're gonna have some sort of banquet or dinner or something.
Where? Oh, yeah. Chickens.
That's where we are going.
It is. No.
I'll help you to get up.
Is it one side for women, one side for man?
Well, sit anywhere. No,
Anywhere? I can sit over there?
Sit over there. In the middle.
این مقبره هارون هستش برادر حضرت موسی